Hey guys, I'm Saintvicious, and this is going to be part 2 of the 5.22 rundown. So I'm going to skim through most of these, because a lot of these ones coming up are just kind of like bug fixes and clarity things. So I'm mainly going to hit on the actual changes. So Azir is just mainly a bug fix, so I'm not really going to look at that. Kindred, I played a lot of Kindred before this patch, and I thought she was really OP. And then I played her a little bit on this current patch, the 5.22, and she... Basically what I feel like is that she can't cheese Baron as hard as you could before. Like before, if you had any kind of stacks, you could instantly kill Baron with like 2 people. It was pretty disgusting the amount of damage you do. And also, your dragon was a little bit faster too. And your jungle clear was a little bit faster as well. But now I think Kindred still can do all those things, but it's just a little bit less ridiculous. So I think Kindred pretty much is the same champion as she was before, but she just has not as ridiculous buff and Dragon and Baron control and things like that. So I think Kindred's still pretty much in the same spot as she was before. And they nerfed her health regen, which is... That's not... Like, yeah, okay. Like, who cares? Like, she has lifesteal now in the jungle from the jungle items, so I think the health regen is not too big of a deal. LeBlanc's mirror image will now display the fake versions of blue, red, and Baron buff. They pretty much did this for LeBlanc and Shaco, where like the mimics and the hallucinations will now display the buffs. Like, because before you would basically go after the LeBlanc or the Shaco that has, you know, the red buff on them, and you would just kill the right one every single time. So now they're just gonna allow you to trick people a little bit better. Then they did bug fixes for Nectin and Riven. Shaco, they made it to where his 2-ship poison no longer makes jungle monsters miss, but now it slows their attack speed. So that really just makes like the damage that's going to be coming out of the monster a little bit more consistent, and you're going to be able to predict the damage that's coming at you. So I think that's an okay change. Sion hit a bug fix, Volibear bug fix, Wukong bug fix, and they gave him the same thing where his decoy will also display buffs. Zed fixed a bug where quickly casting Living Shadow and Razor Shuriken would cause Zed's Living Shadow to cast instantly instead of using the cast time. Never experienced this bug, but I'm sure it happens a lot to Zed mains. And then pretty much they gave all the ADCs a little bit more base AD, and then they took their AD per level down, and this is pretty much what you're seeing right here. And then for these champions, they gave each of these champions 50 more mana, and they gave them a little bit more, you know, mana per... Or they took away their mana scaling. This is, I mean, 50 mana is like, I don't think this is going to make or break any of these champions, so just kind of skip over all that. And then these champions, they just gave more mana regen, so not really like the game-breaking changes, you know. But this right here is a game-breaking change. The Grievous Wounds. So now Grievous Wounds, the reduced healing is 40%, but Grievous Wounds now only affects self-healing instead of all healing. So basically what this means is that Ignite used to be really good against Soraka, and Executioner Calling, and all that really good stuff. But now, like, you can't even ignite the target that Soraka's healing. So Soraka's just like the most annoying champion in the game right now. Like, if you're like doing the ban pick for your game, you better like either ban or first pick Soraka. Like, Soraka is just the dumbest champion right now. It's so stupid. It's such a dumb champion. She's like way ridiculous. So just ban Soraka. Don't let her in the games. Get her out of here, man. Empowered basic attack changes. So basically, if this ability were to miss before, it might still do the effect. But now, if the ability is going to miss, it like let's say Blitzcrank would have missed his Power Fist, it would have knocked you up. And now it's just not going to knock you up at all. And it's going to the ability is going to fizzle out as well. So all these kind of champions that have like on-hit effects are all just going to have like their abilities fizzle out. Rift Herald. So from what I've seen with the Rift Herald in games so far, it feels like it doesn't really have that big of an effect on the game. Like, yeah, you can make some okay little pushes with it, and it does die really fast. Like, it dies super fast if you're top laner and your jungler go and kill it. I think what it's going to be is it's going to be more of like a nice little bonus that you kind of like grab on the way to something. Like, let's say you're doing a rotation to go get the top turret, and then I think it's going to be like a nice little bonus gold or like ability. Like, it's going to help you guys push a little bit better. And then like a big thing on top of that is like, let's say that you're in a traditional, you know, LCS game where like you have your, you know, your one duo take the tower faster than the other duo. What that means is now that you can get the Rift Herald and on like one of the champions, and then you can push faster than those people. So I think you're gonna be able to do some like decent rotation plays with this. but it doesn't really feel like a game-breaking thing that they added in. Like the 50 gold is not really that much, and then enhanced Baron recall is nice, I guess, but yeah, it only gives 10% increased damage and 40 movement speed, so yeah, whoop-de-doo-dah. Game pacing changes. So pretty much what I've noticed with the game now, so minions spawn sooner and jungle monsters spawn sooner, and then you also get more ambient gold from just pretty much like sitting around with your thumb up your ass. You get more ambient gold, and then you get, if it goes past 12 minutes and you're the lowest gold, like 2 members on the team, you'll get an additional 2 gold per 5 seconds, which is pretty ridiculous. So the amount of ambient gold you get in the game is just really crazy, and it's going to amp up the speed of the game. Like, I've noticed a lot of my games are lasting between like 25 to 35 minutes is pretty much like the average. Like your average, I've had a lot of games last like 28 minutes today. So I think like your average game time is going to be a lot shorter because of a lot of these changes. Kill gold is kind of really weird now. So before, like, you know, you get like the nice 500 gold shutdown when you kill the guy who has like the 5 kill spree. So now it's not going to do that. What it's going to do is it's going to, like, I had a game today where I was like 0-5 or something jacks against Gangplank, and then like we killed him 2 times in a row. So then like the first kill gave, you know, 90 gold to everybody on my team, and then I also got the kill bonus. So it actually gave more gold than before if like I was just to take his shutdown. Like, it's more gold overall, I feel like. And then it also distributes all that gold throughout the team. And then even if you do kill that person, it's not going to reset their bounty. So before, like, you killed the 500 gold shutdown, then like now he's worth 300 gold again, right? But now how it works is you kill that person and it drops your bounty a little bit. So how much is it? Bounties are no longer reset on death. Instead, dying now reduces bounty by a tier of 3. So if I was to kill that guy who had the tier 5 bounty, then he would go down to giving 30 gold to everybody. So killing somebody who's like a killing spree on them consecutively, like putting them down, can like really rubber band your team back into the game. So I feel like this just kind of punishes mistakes a lot better. Like, if you make a mistake and you're ahead, then the game can rubber band really hard against you. And then assists no longer give more gold. So before, like, if let's say I killed you 1v1, but then somebody came in and, like, you know, got an assist on the kill for the enemy team, they would get more gold than my 1v1 kill. So, but it doesn't do that anymore because no more assist streak. Or wait, consecutive assists no longer grant bonus gold. Oh wait, never mind. That's for consecutive assist. I lied. All right, forget what I just said. That's for consecutive assist. All right. So there's no more assist streak. So you still get more gold for doing assist. Okay. So throw out what I just said. So bad. All right. So now turrets. Basic attacks against turrets deal damage equal to base attack. Basically, what this did was it made it to where you do 0.1 AP more auto damage for mages. So like they want turrets to die faster than they were dying before, and they want like mages to be able to kill turrets fast too. And then turrets have 0 armor now. They have 0 armor magic resist, so pretty much everybody just like tears them apart. And then turrets gain 2 armor and magic resist per minute up to a maximum of 30. Outer turrets will begin scaling at the game start, and inner turrets start at 15 minutes. So like even still, like 30 armor and 30 magic resist is not that much. And then they made it to where before turrets had 2,000 health, now it has 3,500 health. So they may have a lot more health, but they have a lot less armor and magic resist. So they actually die faster now, I believe. And then inhibitor towers have 4,000 health, which is quite a bit, but they still don't have that much armor and magic resist. And then turret gold is now 220 gold instead of 150, so that's a hell of a lot more gold. So basically, you want to go and get... I don't think Dragon's that important in the early game anymore. I think what's important is getting the turrets down as fast as possible. And I think the team that can kill the turrets and rotate really fast is going to be the team that wins. Just because this is such a considerable amount of gold, like 220 per an outer and 250 per an inner, like that's a lot of damn gold to give to your team. So it's actually comparable to like what Dragon used to be back when Dragon gave gold. Remember when Dragon used to get like 245 gold to everybody? This is something like that along those lines. So the towers just give a ton of gold now. So I think towers are the main priority on the game right now. And then they didn't put this minion thing in the game yet, and I'm sure they're going to tweak it, so I'm not really going to comment on it, but I think it's kind of ridiculous. So, but I'm not going to really, I'm not going to comment on this until like they actually put it into the game. But I know, yeah, minions give more gold now, and then the gold growth is actually less. So they want people. This is just like another effort to make the games shorter because they want people getting more gold early in mid game, and they want like the games ending. I think they want the game to be like 30 minutes or less, or 35 minutes or less. They feel like their games are too long, so there's just another effort by Riot to make the game shorter. And they pretty much gave that treatment to all the minions, where they just like more initial gold and then just like less gold gained as the game ramps up. And then so jungle tuning, not really gonna go through the specifics, but it seems that they took a lot of the armor off all the jungle monsters. Like monsters don't have any armor anymore, but they do have magic resist. I don't know why they gave them magic resist. That's gonna make Cinder Hulk junglers actually jungle slower too. Sad day, but yeah, I think in some cases the jungle from jungling today, from playing throughout, like some of the jungle routes are a little bit harder. I feel like the main jungle route that you're gonna do now is you're gonna have, well, at least what I did is you could either double jungle, which your top laner won't hit level 2 off of it, but it'll be like 1 minion off, so it's not too bad for him, or you can just have your bot lane pull for you. But it feels like a lot of the bot lanes aren't taking the Gromp or the double golems anymore because they don't hit level 2 off of that, or they don't get like close to level 2 off of that because they miss some of the bonus XP. Yeah, so I feel like I probably just start most of my jungle routes with getting a pull, and then Rift Scuttler now gives 70 gold instead of 65. Oh boy. Oh yeah, that's another thing they also changed with a lot of the jungle minions, is they made it to where jungle minions give more they give more gold, but they give less XP. So that's, yeah. But I mean, that's kind of warranted because the jungle item costs so much money now. But we're gonna like talk about that as the game goes, as we get into the later parts of the patch notes. And then teleport now, it's 300 second cast on turrets, and it takes 4 seconds to channel instead of 3.5. So this is just kind of like to tone down people double jungling and also people taking TP mid. I think TP is still really good, but I don't think like everybody and their mom's gonna be taking TP like they were in the last patch. Like the last patch, there was fucking people like playing TP Jace bottom. So they're just gonna kind of tone this down a little bit. But I think TP is still actually really good. And then they removed Clarity and Clairvoyance in the game, so no more Disco Nunu. They removed a bunch of items. The Marksman itemization, they made BF Sword cheaper, 10 less AD. This is just kind of like all the Marksman itemization changes. We'll kind of go through this briefly. I haven't gotten to experiment with all these items yet, and I don't really know what like the perfect build is yet either, but I've tried a couple of the builds. Infinity Edge feels like a lot weaker than it was before, just because it gives, I mean, it's cheaper, but it does give less AD. I don't know. I feel like Infinity Edge is good, but it doesn't feel like the item that when you get it, you're doing like bonkers damage, just because they took a little bit of the AD off of it. Maybe it's just kind of like a psychological thing, because I'm so used to, you know, Infinity Edge having 80 attack damage, so when you do crit with that 80 attack damage, it would do a fuck ton of damage. And now it's just critting off, you know, like a plus 65 damage instead, so Infinity Edge is still pretty good, but it's not like the end-all, I think. And then Essence Reaver, I've seen some people building this on Lucian, and it looks like it's pretty good. We're pretty much, now, the CDR that's on the item scales off of, your crit chance, so that's the unique pet. Says 10% cooldown reduction, gains up to 20% additional cooldown reduction, equal to your critical strike chance from other sources. So if you have 2 items, you can pretty much CDR cap yourself. So it's really good for champions like Lucian, or pretty much any like caster AD champion that needs to get some good CDR. And then it has 20% critical strike on it now, and doesn't have the lifesteal on it anymore. And it also costs 400 gold. And then it still pretty much has the same mana passive that it had before, but now it's based off of critical strikes rather than just like autoing stuff. I think that Essence Reaver is really good on the only person I've actually really seen it be good on is Lucian, to be honest. I'm trying to think of other champions, and I can't really think of any other champion that I've seen that it's good on, but it's super good on Lucian. Maybe it'd actually be really good on Fiora. I take that back. Well, maybe. They took the lifesteal off of it. I don't even know. Let's see. Recurve Bow. Now the on-hit damage is 5 more, and it's 5% less attack speed. And sorry, it's so dark in here. And then yeah, so Recurve Bow and it also costs less. So building into Devour and Blade of the Rune King feels a little bit smoother now, I think, with the Recurve Bow changes. Bilgewater Cutlass costs more, and then it only gives 2% more lifesteal, so I think Bilgewater Cutlass overall got nerfed. And then Blade of the Rune King costs more as well, and also does less current health damage. So I feel like Blade of the Rune King's like... Honestly, I feel like Blade of the Rune King's not that good anymore compared to what it was. I'm actually not that big of a fan of Blade of the Rune King right now, just because they made it cost more gold, and they nerfed the damage on top of that, so... I feel like I'd rather build one of the other combinations of items. Yeah, just not a big fan of Blade of the Rune King. So now Zeal, it costs 100 gold more, but it gives 10% more crit and 5% less attack speed. So I kind of like this change. It's just a lot more crit overall, and attack speed is like pretty abundant right now. I feel like, you know, with the buff to Zerkers, which we're gonna look at later. But I think this is a pretty good change to Zeal. And then I didn't get to see Phantom Dancer because it's disabled in the game right now. But just from looking at the item, it looks kind of like they took it's pretty much the same item except they took the movement speed off of it, and now what it does is when you're within 500 units of an enemy champion you see, you gain 12% movement speed and you pass through units. So you pretty much get like a steroided version of what Phantom Dancer did before, but only when you're within 500 units of an enemy champion. And then basic attacking a champion causes them to deal 12% less damage to you for 10 seconds. So it's also good for 1v1ing people. Like, that's a lot of damage reduction. But I'm trying to think of like what melee champions outside of maybe Tryndamere who would get this. There's not that many champions that would build PD in the first place. So granted, it only costs 2,700 gold. Runas Hurricane, they made it 2,500 gold, so it's the same, but it has 30% less attack speed, but now it's 30% crit. And it also gets 5% movement speed. So I've seen a lot of AD carriers that'll use this as their static shiv or PD type item. And then the bolt ratio also got lowered. So the split off damage is like it's doing a lot less than it was before. But it can crit now too. So there's like that. And it also, you know, has 30% crit built in the item. So if you have IE and Runas Hurricane, you can actually be doing quite a bit of damage with the bolts that are coming off of it. So I think Runas Hurricanes overall is like actually a pretty good item just from what I've seen. Like only 2,500 gold for all these stats is pretty good. Let's see, Kurchise Shard, total cost 750 gold, build path dagger and 450 gold, and it gives 15% attack speed. I haven't seen any. Actually, I saw one person build this. This is like the static shift thing. Yeah. Okay. Usually I just see people go straight into the static shifts. So I don't really see people get this item. Moving attacking builds. Yeah, so it's pretty much like the weak version of the static shiv, and it like energizes your attack, but it doesn't make it AoE like the static shiv does. And then static shiv, they gave it 10% more crit, 5% less attack speed, which is pretty much, you know, the change that happened to the Zeal, which is part of the build path. And then the movement speed is 5% instead of 6. And then the shiv damage is 50 to 150 rather than 100, and there's one more fork. So pretty much shiv got buffed all around, I'd say. I think it's probably the best out of the Zeal items. I think it's the best one. I like it a lot. And then also now it deals 50% bonus damage to minions. So it's just really good for if you want some wave clear, like if you're playing Bane or something. I think static shiv's just super beast. I really like it a lot. And then I saw some people get this on AD carriers as well, the rapid fire cannon. It gives 30% attack speed, 30% crit, and moving and attacking builds up to 100 when fully stacked. So it gives you the energized effect, but when you're fully energized, your basic attacks gain 35% bonus range, which is a lot of fucking range, and deals 50 to 200 magic damage on hit, and energized attacks work on structures. So that's going to be really good for if you kind of don't have the best range and you're trying to, you know, get the pot shots off on the enemy mid turret or whatever, and you're trying to siege. This is going to allow you to siege a little bit better and get off like more pot shots off. I think this could be a really good item just for anybody who just wants to get a little bit better poke and a little bit better pushing power, or not pushing power, but sieging power. And then Last Whisper. I honestly didn't really see that many people build Last Whisper in my games, just because like the games are so short that people aren't even really getting a chance to fully armor stack to where it matters. So it now gives 30% bonus armor pen instead of total armor pen, and it costs really cheap. It's 1,300 gold, and it builds out a pickaxe and 425 gold. It also gives less AD as well, so it's really cheap when you do want to get it. But the base version's like pretty shit, to be honest, because it's only bonus armor. And then that changes into... is this the build-up? Oh no, this is one of the other base items. So Giant Slayer is one of the other base items. This is like one of their like tank killing items. So what this does is it builds out a longsword and 650 gold. It's 10 attack damage, so it's kind of shitty attack damage. But now grants up to 10% damage against enemy champions with greater maximum health than you, which is pretty much going to be everything. Anything that has 500 more max health than you, which is pretty much every tank, you'll do 10% of the enemy's health per every auto, which is pretty good. It's like a Blade of the Rune King type effect, but it's based off of it says grants up to 10% damage against enemy champions with greater maximum health than you. Yeah. Oh, it actually read that wrong. Wait, Giant Slayer. So Giant Slayer grants up to 10% damage against enemy champion with... Yeah, okay. It says grants up to 10% damage against enemy champions with greater maximum. So I think you just do 10% more damage overall. That's still pretty good. For some reason I thought it was an on-hit effect that... Yeah, for some reason I thought it was like a Blade of the Rune King on-hit effect. I'm so stupid. I haven't really seen that many people buy this item, so... okay, so I explained it wrong. So this item, it just is an on-hit... it's not an on-hit effect, it just boosts your damage overall by 10%, which is still pretty nice. And then they put Executioner's Calling back into the game. They not back into the game, but they tweaked it, which I think it's just a garbage, terrible item. Like, the fact that... And it's not because Executioner Calling is like a bad item, it's because Grievous Wounds is... It doesn't do anything anymore, because it only affects self-healing. So before you get Executioner's Calling to, like, stop Soraka heals or something, right? But now it doesn't even do anything for that. So Executioner's Calling is pretty much like the most worthless item in the game. You shouldn't buy it. Oh, this is the other item. So this is the Master Last Whisper. So this costs 2,700 gold, and it takes that Giant Slayer item in the Last Whisper. And for 400 gold, you get 40 AD, which was what Last Whisper pretty much was before. And then now it grants up to 15% damage against enemy champions with greater maximum health than you, which is pretty much going to be everything. And then instead of doing... How much armor pen was it before? Yeah, instead of doing 30 bonus armor pen, it's now 40% 40% of bonus armor pen. So this is kind of an item that you would get super late game. Like, this will be like one of the last items you complete, I think. If you just need like to really kill tanks, like I think this would be your 6th item. Like maybe you get your Last Whisper and sit on it. And then if you like really, or like dragging the game out, then I think that you would end up getting this item. And then one of the other build paths you can do is you can get Executioner's Calling combined with Last Whisper, but once again it's just like pretty useless because it inflicts Grievous Wounds, which doesn't really do anything. So this is kind of like, you shouldn't buy this item. Merc Scimitar now gives 10% lifesteal and 75 AD. I think Merc Scimitar is still a really, really good item, and just the fact that it's lifesteal now just makes it even better. Like on some champions I could actually see getting it as your 2nd item, or probably your 3rd item actually. But Merc Scimitar is really good overall. It gives like 75 AD is a lot when you think of it in comparison to all the other items that give AD now. They got toned down. And BT now gives 75 AD as well instead of 80, and it costs 200 more gold. So Bloodthirster and Merc Scimitar pretty much cost the same amount of gold. And then what you're paying for on BT really is like the shield and the increased lifesteal. And the Merc Scimitar you're paying for the magic resist and the ability to cleanse. So I think in a lot of scenarios, Merc Scimitar will be better than getting BT. Item efficiency tuning. So for some reason they made pretty much all the high tier AP items cost more, and are just kind of weaker overall. And I think the reasoning with this, like Zoni's Hourglass costs 3,500 gold instead of 3,000, and Def Cap is 3,800 instead of 3,500 gold. So AP items are super fucking expensive now. And I think one the main reasoning points for that is they wanted some of the other AP items to kind of pop up and look more appealing. Which was, like, I think Lichbane they made pretty good. Let me look at it. I was looking through these earlier before. Yeah, like Woda costs 2,300 gold now, so it's cheaper, so like that's more appealing. Magi Soulstealer, they kind of tweaked it a little bit. It costs the same amount of gold, but now it doesn't do like the stacking thing where, oh my god, I got 20 stacks, I can have all this CDR, I'm a beast. But now what it does is it gives you up to 25 stacks, and you get 4 stacks per a champion kill, 2 per assist, and then when you die you lose 10 of the stacks. But each of the stacks gives 5 ability power, and then when you have them maxed out, you get 10% movement speed. So it's pretty close to what the old Sword of the Occult used to be. And then it also gives 200 mana, so it's a little bit better of an early game item than it was before. Like before, you get Magi Soulstealer, and if you didn't kill them like on one burst, you'd just be out of mana, and you'd be like, "Fuck! Like I can't even lane anymore," you know. So this is it's gonna be an item that's a little bit better in some situations. I think it actually might be pretty good. They made Void Staff more expensive. Abyssal Scepter, they made it cheaper because this is an early and mid game item, and I think that's kind of what Riot wants people to get, is like these early and mid game items. Lichbane only it costs 200 gold more, but now it gives 10% CDR and 7% more movement speed. So I actually like this change to Lichbane. I think Lichbane's better overall. Like just the fact that you have another source of CDR as a mage is really sweet, because you could just get like Morello, Nomicon, and then get Lichbane, and you'd just be CDR capped with blue without having to run CDR per level blues. And then they gave Stinger and Nashors 2 10% more attack speed. It's pretty much like, yeah, that doesn't do too much for the item. Then all the armor items, they kind of nerfed them all around. They made them either more expensive, or they just pretty much made them more expensive overall. Like, Rando's Omen gives 50 more health, but it's at the price of 300 gold, so that's kind of a lot. And then Thornmail costs 50 more gold. Dead Man's Play costs 50 more gold. QSS costs 50 more gold. Spectre's Cowl costs 100 gold less, but it gives 5 less MR. Still a really good item. I really like that item. This is such a good magic resist item. And then they kind of like buffed Banshee's Veil and Spirit Visage really hard. Now they give more health than they did before. Like Spirit Visage gives 100 more health, Banshee's Veil gives 50 more health, and they give 10 more MR as well. So they kind of like fucked over mages a little bit with this patch and just gave people really good options for magic resist. Blommy Cinder, they made it cost more. Warmogs, they gave it more health. I don't know, Warmogs is a terrible item, don't buy that item. Sunfire gives more health now, but it's still kind of lackluster, I think. And then Guardian's Angel, it has 10 more armor and 10 more magic resist, but it costs more money. I never really was a fan of GA ever since they nerfed it the first time. So I don't really think GA is that good right now either. And then Aegis of the Legion, it's a 10 MR ore instead of 15, so I think unless you're the support, I don't really see that many people getting this item, just because 10 MR is like, that's not that much MR at all. So, but at least it's cheaper, and then at least Locket of the Iron Solar is also cheaper. So I think Aegis of the Legion is just, it's strictly for supports now. And then the jungle items, Hunter's Machete and Hunter's Talisman. Hunter's Talisman is so troll. I was playing Zac today, and it recommended Hunter's Talisman on it, and pretty much Hunter's Talisman, all it does is like, when you auto things, it gives you 150% more mana regen, you know, while you're in the jungle. Or, well, just while you're in the jungle in general, you get 150% more mana regen. But for some reason, it recommended the item on Zac as my starting item. I'm just like, what the fuck? It's like, I don't have any mana. And then Hunter's Machete, they made it to where it's 8% lifesteal now. So pretty much what they did is they split the basic jungle item into 2 items. So one of the items you can start with is Machete, which is pretty much for people who have on hit and can do lifesteal. And then Hunter's Talisman is for tanks like Maokai or Nune or something. Things that don't really do autoing a lot, so it's kind of better for them. But regardless, you're still going to end up buying both of these items at some point, because these 2 items combined into all of the upgraded basic jungle items that you had before, like Skirmisher Saber, Stalker's Blade. They're still the same item as it was before. The only difference is they took out Poachers and they took out Ranger's Trailblazer. And then also these items, they no longer give the 30 bonus gold that they did before. And now what they do is they, I think they give bonus, yeah, they give 30 bonus XP when killing large monsters. So they want you to get more XP out of upgrading this item. Like, they want it to be, once you get this item, you can actually get a really fast level 6, or you can level up really fast. And then they have Tracker's Knife, which is pretty much like the Sightstone version of this item. You can put down little mini wards. I saw a couple of people build this item, but I think most people are kind of doing the Stalker's Blade from what I've seen. And then Runeglaive is more expensive, is 10 less AP, but gives 50 more mana. So pretty much all the items, they cost more in general, but yeah, like, I don't know. I think overall the jungle items got nerfed just because they're super fucking expensive. Like, Cinder Hulk costs 2,625 gold when it was 2,250, and it's the exact same item. Like, they didn't buff the item at all. They just flat out made jungle items more expensive altogether. And then Warrior, they took the 10 armor pen off of it, but it has 15 more attack damage on it. So I think Warrior actually got buffed, even though they did take armor pen off of it. It does have more base AD. So for champions that have absolutely crazy AD ratios, I think it's actually a buff. So like an example of that would be like Lee Sin clearing the jungle. Since monsters don't have armor anyways, you just clear the jungle faster overall. And then Devour, it's 10% less attack speed, but 10 more damage on hit. Still not that big of a fan of Devour, but it is the cheapest of the items you can get here. And then support items, they just made Ancient Coin give more gold overall, and they took the gold per 10 off of it, and just made it to where it gives more gold from standing around while people kill monsters around you. And they took the movement speed off of it. So that also carries over to Talisman of Ascension. Still think Talisman, pretty good item. Not too big of a difference there. I think taking the movement speed off is kind of like, I really like the movement speed on it, but it's still a super good item when you need to run away really fast or engage on people. And then they gave Targans 2 gold per 10. And I think that's mainly because like sometimes late game it's really hard to get your Targan stacks off, so you can kind of fall behind in gold a little bit. So they kind of just did this to amp up Targan's gold generation. And then they also kind of tweaked the heal and Pace of the Mountain. It doesn't add 1% of your maximum health on the heal anymore, so that kind of sucks. And then Pace of the Mountain's active shield now no longer does damage to everybody around the target, but instead heals for 40%, which I think is better than the damage thing, just because it's a way of giving you an extra peel or an extra way of catching people. Like, you could Pace the Mountain somebody chasing someone, and then hit them with the 40% slow for 2 seconds, and that's pretty good. Like, you can get a lot of kills off of that. And it's AoE on top of that. So imagine like Face of the Mountain on Alistar. You drop a good pull combo and then Face the Mountain right after that to get the 40% slow on everybody. So I think it's pretty clutch. Spell Thief's Edge, they tweaked this item a little bit. I felt like Frostfang before in the earlier patches, before this one, was kind of useless. Like, nobody bought it. It didn't really do too much. So their goal was to kind of make it a better item. So now it gives more gold on hit. And then it also has more base mana regen and more ability power. So it's just a better item overall. So it gives people more incentive to upgrade. And which I still don't think it's like that great of an item, but what it upgrades into is actually pretty nice. Before Frost Queen's Claim, you shoot it out, have like the little slow on it, which is kind of unimpressive. But now they kind of moved Spooky Ghost over to Frost Queen's Claim, and now you send out the 2 ghosts and it slows people, and it just pretty much the same way that the Spooky Ghost worked on the other items. I think this is a pretty good buff to Frost Queen's Claim, and it also has 150% mana regen on it too, so I think this is a good scouting tool now, and it's also good for catching people from long range. So I like this buff overall to Frost Queen's Claim. Ardent Censer costs more, Michaela's Crucible costs less, Zeke's Harbinger costs more. These changes are kind of insignificant. They removed being able to buy wards from the game, and they also removed upgrading your trinkets to like upgraded vision trinket or whatever. You can still upgrade them to other things, but like upgraded scrying ward, we'll go over that later, but they pretty much took all that kind of stuff out of the game, and now your wards are from mainly trinkets, and trinkets don't really last that long. And then they also made it to where pink wards are cheaper as well. They cost 75 gold instead of 100. So a lot of the vision, a lot of the sweeping is going to come from buying pink wards, which are cheap now. And people are going to have to be really on top of putting down wards more aggressively, because wards don't last as long. So now you need to take it. The window in which you can take advantage of that vision is going to be a lot shorter. And then Sightstone. You now has less charges, but you can actually change it into other items. Let's see what some of the one of the things you can do is Ruby Sightstone item active cooldowns are reduced by 10%. And it also gets 500 health overall and costs 1800 gold. So you can choose to turn it into Ruby Sightstone, or you can combine it with your second tier gold generation item. And it's pretty much the item is the second tier gold gen item, so it's like Frostfang with your Sightstone. It's pretty much the exact same item in every single way, and this is pretty much like your Nomad's Medallion and Sightstone. It's the exact same item if you just combine them together, and the main point of this is to kind of just like give you an extra item slot if you just want to kind of hang on to your Sightstone, but you also want to keep your other items for gold gen. And then Trinkets upgrading, you know, it's free. It automatically does it at level 9. So everybody should be able to put down wards now. There should be like literally zero fucking excuses for it. So yeah, and then they removed Scrying Orb from the game too. So a lot of the people that upgraded to Scrying Orb really early on ADCs, tough luck. You're not gonna be able to do that anymore. And then your Trinket ward, you can now store 2 at a time, and you start with 1 charge, and then you kind of regenerate the charges as you go throughout the game. Generates a new charge every 180 to 120 seconds based on your level. So you'll be able to basically, everybody kind of has like a mini Sightstone now as they level up throughout the game. So getting vision is a really big team effort because yeah, the wards just don't last as long, and they like the max that a ward lasts is 120 seconds, and that's at level 18. So you have to be really on top of like how you're gonna get your vision, and you have to work as a team on that. And then so what else we got? This is the other thing. So there's Farsight alteration. So this is pretty much what they did with the Farsight Orb and the Scrying Orb, is they made it to where you can get it at level 9, and it's pretty much the upgraded Scrying Orb that you had before. So hold on, what does it say? 40% of warding totems charge cooldown. So the cooldown is 61 to 48 seconds, and it has a range of 4,000. So that's pretty damn far. And then the ward that you put down lasts forever, but it's visible, so you can just like kind of walk up and kill it in one hit. I think this is really good if you want to scout Baron, or if you just kind of want to like not face check into Dragon or something like that. It still does its job, and I could see a lot of ADCs still kind of like upgrading into this. I think it's pretty good. And then Sweeping Lens, they made it to where, in addition to disabling wards, Sweeping Lens will spawn warning particles. I think what they did, oh yeah, I remember what they did with Oracle that I thought was weird. They made it to where it no longer grants true sight. So if you have a Rengar coming at you, you can't just get Oracle and you know, like sweep on top of you and see the Rengar come in. Like, that's not going to work anymore. So you're going to have to be really on top of buying pink boards against champions like Rengar and Shaco and like all these invisible champions that are super fucking annoying. Yeah. Outside of that, I think Oracle is pretty much the same item. And then Dorns Shield, they like randomly nerfed it. It's 450 gold now instead of 440. Dorns Blade costs more, but at least it's stronger. Doran's Ring now gives % mana regen instead of flat, so it scales better into the late game. This is another one of the new items that they added in. It's Dark Seal. So this is pretty much like a mini version of the Magi Soulstealer. It gives 100 mana, 15 ability power, and bonus healing from potions is 25%. And then it pretty much gives the same thing with the ability power, you know, when you get each glory stack, and you can stack it up to 10. So you can potentially get 55 AP out of this item for 400 gold, which is pretty substantial amount of AP, considering it also gives the 100 mana. So I think this is a decent start on some champions, maybe like Annie or something that could really benefit from it. So I could see this being good. Cole, I saw a Gangplank get this item when he just kind of raced out the lane. It says killing a minion grants 1 additional gold. Killing 100 minions grants an additional 300 gold immediately and disables his passive. So this item pretty much pays for itself, and then it gives 5 attack damage and 3 life on hit, which is not really that much life on hit and not really that much of attack damage, but it's a decent gold gen item if you kind of just want to, you know, bitch out a lane and not really fight that much. It seemed to do pretty good on the Gangplank, but I think that I'd still rather have like a Dorns Blade at the end of the day. I don't know. I don't feel like the gold that this item gives you is like that good. Or maybe, I don't know. I have to see it more. I haven't seen it enough. I only saw one person build it, so I just think Dorns Blade's better. Health potions cost 50 gold now instead of 35, which is kind of ridiculous. But, you know, before you you get health potions, they don't really want people just spamming health potions anymore. What they want people to do is they want people to buy these refillable potions. And this is kind of generally what you get on junglers now as your start. You get like the refillable potion and then one of the base jungle items. And what these do is they consume a charge to restore 100 health over 10 seconds. And you can hold up to 2 charges. So, and this gets refilled every time you go to base. It's like 200 extra health pretty much every time you go out onto the field, which is honestly not that much, but 150 gold doesn't cost that much when you consider like how many potions you usually buy throughout the game. And then that potion on top of that, you can upgrade that into something like the Hunter's Potion, which you can get it as a jungler, and pretty much every time you kill a large monster, it'll give you an extra charge. So you can always have potion charges. If you get Hunter's Potion, you pretty much have infinite health in the jungle. But I don't know. I feel like this item is too much of an investment for a jungler that's already kind of gold starved as is. You're kind of just chucking in, you know, your first 400 gold into a potion, which is not that good. So I'm not really sold on the Hunter's Potion that much. I don't think it's that good. I would kind of like stay away from it. Corrupting Potion. I tried this on top lane Jax, and it did not go very well. Maybe I just fucked up, but it does give a lot of health. 150 health, 50 mana, and it does give you the little burn thing, but it's like, wait a second, I could have just bought a Dorns Blade and like done all this damage to begin with. So I'm not really sold on the Corrupting Potion. Didn't really feel it was that strong. Maybe they need to tweak it more or something. I'm not a big fan of it. And then Elixir of Ruin, they removed that. Elixir of Iron now gives 300 health, but cost 100 more gold, and then they reduced the size on it a little bit. And then it no longer reduces the effectiveness of slows by 25%, so they pretty much just like merged together Elixir of Iron and Elixir of Ruin. They're pretty much the same, you know, it's just one less item you have to buy, or you could buy. It's like less choices. Elixir of Sorcery now costs 500 gold as well, but also gives 10 more ability power. I feel like it's kind of a waste of money. It costs so much for what it is, but I guess when you do get it, you're kind of trying to make like the winning push, so I could see when you could actually get that. Same thing with Elixir of Wrath. They just made it cost more money, but they kind of buffed it overall. And they made it to where kills and assists no longer extend the duration, so you can't just be going off and like having this thing on permanently. And then boots cost 300 gold. Berserker Greaves cost 1100 gold, but get 5% more attack speed. So that's kind of like a... I wouldn't really call that an upgrade because you're paying for the attack speed, but for an in-slot item, I think it's an upgrade. It's like, it's better in-game. And Boots of Swiftness only costs 800 gold. Now, I've actually been building this in some of my games just to kind of mess around, because it's so cheap. It only costs 800 gold. It's like, it's such a cheap boot upgrade, and it gives 65 movement speed. Like, that's ridiculous, the amount of movement speed you get out of this. And then the Boots of Lucidity now has 10% CDR, and costs 800 gold, and now additionally reduces the cooldown of summoner spells by 10%. So, I think if you combine this with Distortion, you can do some really cool stuff with TP and Ghost and Flash and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's going to be some good synergy between that with this. But overall, I think that the boots are kind of like... I don't know. I miss having 15% CDR on a boot, but it is cheap, and it does affect your summoner spells now. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be some nice summoner spell builds you can do with the masteries and this, and, you know, getting Distortion. So we'll see about that. I haven't seen anybody really build it or try that out yet, though. Merc Treads cost less gold, but they only give 20% tenacity, which I think is like... Ugh. Dude, 20% tenacity is nothing, man. It's so little. It's almost like not even worth getting, just because Ninja Tabby is such a good item. Like, Ninja Tabby costs 100 more gold because 5 more armor, and it's still like, with how prevalent, you know, AD type champions are right now, I think Ninja Tabby is just really good overall. And I think in the majority of my champions, I'm going to get Ninja Tabby over Merc Treads almost every single time, unless they're like really AP heavy. And then Alacrity is 25 gold cheaper. Fire is 25 gold cheaper. Distortion is 25 gold cheaper. Captain is 150 gold cheaper, which is a lot. And then Home Guard is 25 gold cheaper as well. So they pretty much made all these boot enchants cheaper. Death's Dance, they made... Let's see. Death's Dance. This is a new item. I saw some people build it. It honestly just looks like a big piece of crap, and I don't recommend getting it. It's 65 attack damage and 10% CDR. And the passive is unique. Dealing physical damage heals for 12% of the damage dealt. Whoop-de-doo-dah. And then 12% of the damage you take is instead turned into a bleed for 5 seconds. I just can't think of a scenario where I'd want to get this item over one of the other lifesteal items. I'm not really a big fan of Death's Dance. What else is there? There's Hexdrinker. Hexdrinker does 25 less AD, but has 5 more MR and a weaker shield early on, but a stronger shield later on. And also costs less gold, so this is just a better... It's a more defensive option now than you had before, but it's also cheaper, so... I think Hexdrinker got buffed overall with this. I think it's a pretty decent buff. And then Maul pretty much got the same treatment, where the shield is 300 plus 1 per bonus magic resist. So the more magic resist you have, the more shield you have. and then it no longer grants bonus attack damage based on missing health, but what it does is you gain 25% attack speed, 10% spell vamp, and 10% lifesteal, which is pretty much what the old Ginsu's Rageblade passive used to be when you had it, what it was, like, drop below 50% health or something. They kind of put that on the Malmortius item instead, so I could definitely see this being good on something like, you know, Jax or even Olaf or something. Even though I do like Spirit Visage a little bit better than this item, I could see it being good on some of those champions. Kale could be another person. Frozen Mallet is less health, but cheaper, and more AD. So I think this is a buff overall to Frozen Mallet. Yomo's Ghostblade, they changed a lot. Now it costs a lot more gold, but it gives 65 AD instead of 30 attack damage, but it no longer has the 15% critical strike. So it's pretty much the same item besides that. And I think this is potentially a good item on some of the assassins. It's like a better pickup on champions like Zed, and it's also like potentially good for some AD champions. Like I saw people, who did I see? Like I saw people get on like Lucian and things like that. Or was it Lucian? I can't even remember what I saw, but I saw some ADCs getting this item. So I think potentially Yomo's Ghostblade is buffed in some scenarios. It's definitely buffed on champions like Zed, though. Champions that benefit better from having flat AD, so I think Yomo's Ghostblade is pretty good. And then Ginsu's Rageblade, I tried this out on Jax. It felt really good, actually. It costs the same amount of gold. It's really cheap. It's 2,500 gold. But now what it does is the basic attacks grant 8% attack speed, 3 attack damage, and 4 ability power, which is pretty much, you know, what it did before. But then when you get the max stacks, your basic attacks deal bonus magic damage on hit equal to 20 plus 15% of total, or 15% of bonus attack damage and 7.5% of ability power to targets nearby enemy units. So this is a splash damage. So if you want an item that's really good for split pushing and 1v1ing, I think this is a good item because it's a way to push out the wave and like AoE it really good. And I think it's a really good substitute for champions like Jax. Hextech Gunblade costs the same amount of money, but it now has no lifesteal and no spell vamp on it, which is kind of ridiculous. But now what it does, it now heals for 15% of all the damage dealt and has a 33% effectiveness on AoE. So they pretty much gave this item the Woda treatment, and I think that's kind of good because it's just more consistent overall. Yeah, I'd say in most scenarios this is just going to be like doing 15% of damage dealt converted into healing. I think is better than having 10% lifesteal and 20% spell vamp now that I look at it. And the active cooldown is 30 seconds to 60, but no longer reduces the active cooldown by 3 seconds per basic attack and single target spell hit. So I think overall Hextech Gunblade got buffed, but I still think it's such a niche item that you're not really going to see it that much outside of like maybe Jax or something, or maybe Corki, I don't know. Actually, no, not even Corki, because all of Corki's damage is AoE, so you won't really get that much healing out of it. Tiamat is 1250 gold instead of 1900, 10 less AD, and 50% less base health regen, and it no longer has the cleave on it, but it still has the active, so it's kind of just like a gimped version of what it was before, and just cheaper. And if you want to do like some kind of, it still gives you like the nice benefit of having sorry, I gotta sneeze. Okay, I'm good. Yeah, so it no longer has like the fast wave clearing and fast pushing outside of if you use the active, but you can still do nice things like animation cancel with the Tiamat, so that's really nice. And then Ravenous Hydra now pretty much has what the old Hydra has, you know, all the clearing and all that kind of stuff, the AoE. It's pretty much the same item, but it costs 300 gold more now, and you can freely change between Ravenous Hydra and Titanic Hydra. So if you feel like you need to get a little bit tankier, you can change it into the Titanic Hydra anytime you want, you know, which is 450 health now instead of 400. And if you feel like you need a little bit more damage and you don't want to be like tanky at all, then you can change it to Ravenous Hydra anytime you want. So I think that's pretty cool that you can just swap out of the item anytime you want. I like that a lot. And then Phage costs cheaper, but 5 less AD. So I think that's overall buff to the item. Black Cleaver got nerfed overall because it's 300 less health, but it only has 15 more AD. But it costs 500 gold more. So I thought Black Cleaver before was an insanely good item, like super cost efficient. And now it's like Like I don't. It's gonna be very situational when I buy this item now. I think just because it costs so much. But I think I'll probably still get it on champions like Rek'Sai and stuff. I think it's still pretty good. Olaf, I also still think it's really good as well. So I'd still get it on those two champions. Maybe a couple other ones like maybe Renekton or something. I don't know. Triforce, they removed the ability power from it, but they gave it 10% CDR. So champions like Jax and Corki and who else built Triforce? Kog'Maw. Like, I don't think Kog'Maw's going to build Triforce anymore. But Jax and Corki for sure are not really going to get the benefit of the ability power anymore, but they will have a little bit more CDR. So I think this is actually a nerf to Corki, just because, you know, before Corki had like, he has decent AP ratios, and I think he benefited from the ability power on it a little bit more than having that increased critical strike chance, because they gave that item 10% more crit chance, but lowered the attack speed by 15 and lowered the attack damage. So, and they made Triforce cost 100 gold more. I don't know. These are just weird changes to Triforce. I don't know how I feel about it. I have to play around with Triforce more, but I feel like this is a nerf to Triforce overall. And then Iceport Gauntlet is now 2,700 gold when it was 2,850. It gives 65 armor instead of 60. It has 20% CDR now instead of 10, which is actually really nice. Like, I love having a good source of 20% CDR. Like, CDR is so valuable in a lot of champions. So I really like that change, but they removed the ability power from it. And then the size of the slow zone now increases with bonus armor. I'm trying to think of what champion I would want to get this item on. It does give 20% CDR. I've seen some people go Iceborne Gauntlet into Black Cleaver. I think that could be really, really good on Hecarim. I could see that build, especially because it gives 20% CDR now. Something like that. Something that spams and benefits from the slow. Even Ezreal could benefit from this as well, even though like Ezreal benefited from the ability power before. So, maybe Skarner. I don't know. Manamune now costs 200 gold more. It's pretty much the same item though, so that got nerfed. Wits End now does 40 damage on hit and has less attack speed but more magic resist. I thought Wits End was a terrible item before, and I still think it's a terrible item, so don't buy this item. Sterix Gauge costs more now, but it's the same item. Don't buy this item. It costs too much. Righteous Glory costs way too much. Don't buy that item. Banner Command, kind of useless unless you really need pushing, so don't buy this item either. Omewrecker, still a useless piece of crap. It was like still in the game, still exist. They're like, yeah, this item sucks. And then ZZ Portal, it's pretty much the same item. And then all these component items got tweaked a little bit as far as money-wise. Sheen now gives 10% CDR but no ability power. And it gives more mana. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because it's kind of situational in the champions that not having that ability power is better than having the CDR. So I don't know how I feel about the Sheen change yet. It's probably better on some of the mages mid. Like for like TF, it's probably like really nice, but for like Corki, not so much. See, Tear of the Goddess costs a little bit more now. Same item. Longsword's 350 gold. Same item. Brawler's goes 10% more crit. It's pretty nice. Dagger is less attack speed, but is 150 gold cheaper, which is actually a lot cheaper. And then, so pretty much these are all just like money changes to the items. So let's talk about some real items. So Jareem's Fist. See, because even Giant Spell doesn't pack a punch. I haven't seen anybody buy this item in game. It's like a weird little health item. So you get 1580 and 150 health, and then killing a unit grants 5 maximum health and stacks up to 30 times. So you get like a nice little chunk of health out of this for 1200 gold, but it just doesn't seem like that good of an item. I think it builds into some stuff, but it's kind of a weird item. I can't remember what this item builds into. I'll have to look. I think Frozen Mallet builds out of this, so I think that might be good in that sense. Serrated Dirk is 2 longswords and 400 gold. It's pretty much what the Brutalizer used to be. It's like a cheaper Brutalizer. And then after killing any unit, your next basic attack or single target deals 15 bonus damage. Whoopee! I think Serrated Dirk is actually really good on some champions, maybe like Riven. that could take advantage of this, or maybe even build Ghostblade. Any champion that could build Ghostblade, I think this is just like a really good item overall, because it's just a cheap brutalizer. Like, it's actually really good on something like Pantheon too. So I think Serrated Dirk's really good. Coalfields Warhammer. Let's see, total cost 1,100 gold. It's 25 attack damage and 10% CDR. Oh, actually, I forgot. The Serrated Dirk does not have CDR. So it's pretty much Brutalizer without the CDR, and this is pretty much Brutalizer without the armor pen, is what they did. They just kind of split the items into 2 items. Caulfield's Warhammer is part of like a build path for a lot of different items. So I think it's okay. It gives CDR and attack damage. It's actually part of Black Cleaver, if I remember right. And I think that this is a better item overall than, you know, sitting on a Kindle, like a Kindle gem is what you'd be before. You'd be sitting on a Phage and a Kindle gem, and then you just like magically get 20% CDR all of a sudden on Black Cleaver. So I think this is a lot smoother build up and a better item path for items like that. The Abyssal Scepter is now 900 gold and gives 1580 and 10% lifesteal, so just a little bit stronger overall when you get it, so better for in lane. Phoenix Codex, they nerfed it. Kindle Gem cost less, so it's a better item. And then they changed all the masteries. I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably just end this part of the patch rundown, because I've been talking for like 50 minutes and I'm like out of breath. And I'll just do like a specific one just for masteries and what I think are like good mastery trees for different champions or whatnot. And I'll just do that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the patch rundown. I kind of rambled at the end just because, like, Jesus Christ, these patch notes are so fucking long. And I could be wrong on some stuff, but I'll play around with the game more this week, and I'll probably have like a better grasp on what I think is good and bad. And maybe I'll make like another video, like a post, you know, 1 week patch video or something, and I can be like, hey, this is like what I saw that was good, this is what I saw that was bad. This is from experimenting. There's a lot of stuff. Like, there's a lot of nice stuff that you can get out of the masteries. Like Tryndamere jungle, Yasuo is really OP, Soraka's super OP, but we'll go into that like on another video with like the masteries. Hope you guys enjoyed the video though, and I'll probably put out that masteries video in a day or two. But I'll see you guys later.